Do you guys realize that I only did 2 What's the Bests in all of 2023? I hope to change that this year, but with the rate that figures are coming out and how big my backlog is, I can't be sure I'll manage. Also, people have been wanting to know for a long time if I'm ever going to do a Best of the Best. And well, this is step 1 of that, as so far there are over 30 figures I've given the title of The Best to, and a What's the Best at that scale would positively kill me. I mean, just look at what happened with the Grimlock What's the Best. Though, that did give me the big views, so I can't complain too much. So I'm going to use this video to prune down the number of possible contestants. Only figures that hit the top category will be considered for Best of the Best. And that means 2 things. First, that this list will be a little condensed. Normally you might expect that there's an F and S plus tiers or something like that, but considering that these figures all already won a What's the Best, it's fair to assume that there aren't going to be any F tiers. And since I need to have it so the What's the Best is more than just a competition between 2 figures or something like that, I'm compressing down the top end too. That also means that the tiers won't be in any particular order. They aren't ranked in their tiers. It's not what's better or worse in each, just does it belong in that tier. With that, I think we can get into this. But first, your likes! Please give. And if you enjoyed this video by the end and you aren't subscribed already, please consider it. I didn't think I was ever going to do another one of these after the borderline April Fool's-ish Father's Day one, but welcome to my second ever tier list. Okay, so starting out, we have the first What's the Best I ever did. That's the Wei Jiang Megatron, which I will still stand by and say that this is an excellent Megatron if you're looking for something oversized and is $80, but I honestly wish it was smaller. I want it to be in the typical Masterpiece range, so that way it doesn't like dwarf an Optimus, because I don't know about most people, but I actually hate it when Megatron dwarfs Optimus. It's really stupid. Optimus in like G1 and a lot of other series is specifically built to fight Megatron, so why you would build him smaller and weaker is beyond me. But the figure is overall good. The figure is, like I said, it's too big, but and it stole the head off the G1 Megatron, but it's otherwise just a pretty solid rendition. It poses pretty well. The alt mode isn't the best, but the alt mode is pretty good, and the transformation doesn't make me want to tear my skin off like the regular Masterpiece Megatron. I think I'm going to put this one in B tier. It's not like I kind of want to put it in A tier, but it doesn't. There aren't enough positives. It's not, there's not a ton of negatives to drag it down any further, but there's just not enough, like, really putting it up over. Then you've got the Masterpiece Dinobot. And the Masterpiece Dinobot is a figure that I love deeply, but it is definitely painful on the transformation, both in the fact that, like, parts of his joints, they'll cut into your skin. And then there's the fact that he doesn't, like, lock together properly and stuff, like it's the chest, really. It's the robot mode chest that gets me. Like, going into beast mode isn't the worst thing ever, but the robot mode chest, with its bloat and his thumb neck, I don't know exactly how to get the arms in there and have it all hold together properly every single time. I can do it, but it takes a lot of finagling over a period of time. But outside that, it looks, fantastic in both modes. It poses better than most other figures. So, like, this has enough positives. It has one glaring negative, then that's the transformation into robot mode. But otherwise, I'd say that this is definitely an A tier figure, and it could have been S tier, but it's just held back by a transformation that could have been so much better. Now, this next one, the Magic Square Optimus Prime is the first S tier, best tier. It's not S tier, it's best tier. Sorry about that. But yeah, there's no question in my mind. It poses the best of almost any figure on this list. It's definitely going to be, like, if not number 1, then number 2. And looking at this list, I can't really. Okay, so there's maybe one figure here that is really going to challenge him on in terms of posability. And outside that, it looks great, it feels great, it's made out of great materials. It's one of the coolest looking Optimuses out there. It doesn't have a fake ab grill, and honestly, it's one of those transformations that, while extremely complex, is also extremely fun. It's not over complex. It's not over engineered like a lot of things are. It's engineered to the exact degree where it's like, oh, this is a very high tier transformation where every step is like intuitive and fun. I honestly say that this figure here is proof that Magic Square really needs to get out of the Legends game, because Magic Square make great Legends figures, but everything that they make, I am certain, would be even more enjoyable at a larger scale, especially considering, like, they're panel wizards. Like, their whole thing is that they do all these really cool things with these really small, like, flaps and panels, and that gets a little fiddly at a smaller scale. So next you got the What's the Best Hot Rod, and that was the Masterpiece Hot Rod came out on top of that. This video is kind of outdated now, considering the fact that there have been several Hot Rods to come out since then, but I'll stick with the Masterpiece as the best, just because I still do believe that the Masterpiece is best. I do understand some of the problems that people had with it now. Like, back when I made this video, I didn't know why people didn't love this figure. I thought it looked almost perfect. Now I can kind of see what they're talking about. I still think that this is excellent. I don't know why people take issue with the backpack. It's honestly a really small backpack. It's a pretty good transformation. It poses pretty well. It has a pretty good rendition of his alt mode. I want to say it's A tier. Like, personally, I want to say it's A tier, but I feel like it's almost best tier, just because, like, I said before, and I'll say it again, like, how much more Hot Rod could this be? And it's none more Hot Rod. I did eventually have the glasses break on me. I'm just going to put this in A tier just because I've, like, muddied the water so much that it's kind of clear that it won't win best. But it's a very good figure. It's excellent. It's the best hot rod that we've gotten. I don't think it's fair to say otherwise. Then you've got Six Gun, and Six Gun is excellent. He's an excellent weaponizer. He's the best weaponizer. I don't understand the people who say he doesn't turn into anything. He turns into a power fist. He turns into a jetpack. He turns into a shield. He turns into like rockets and weapons and all kinds of shit. There's so much creativity available with this one guy. At the same time, he's still a weaponizer, so that means he's got like a bad transformation and then like a really like questionable alt mode. I think he does the weaponizer gimmick the best, which is why he won it, as well as he looks pretty cool. But I'm gonna say that's a is that a C tier or a B tier figure? I'm gonna go with B tier. I think it'd be mean to put it in C tier just because. Then you got Blastoff, and then the MMC Blastoff is another one of those figures that like Masterpiece Soundwave, who you see later in this list down there, right? they're currently touching right now, or at least adjacent to each other. This guy gave me a sense of like completeness and like awestruck that same Masterpiece Soundwave did. It is so good. There are a few flaws with it, but for the most part, it looks almost perfect. It transforms amazingly, and the alt mode is just like, normally you don't see an alt mode suddenly get like significantly bigger, but this guy goes from like what feels like a deluxe-sized robot to like a Voyager-sized alt mode, but in terms of like Masterpiece scale. So it's pretty funny, it's pretty cool. So I'm gonna say that this guy absolutely makes the S rank. He is super cool, and he's part of the best combiner of all time. Fucking fight me. MMC Bruticus, hands down, best combiner of all time. Then you've got Shatter, and I feel really bad that Shatter is actually here, because something I have to tell a lot of people all the time is that I had the Studio Series 32, I think it was, the Bumblebee movie Optimus Prime, which I hands down, it would have gotten the best in this list. If I'd remembered I had it when this video came out. When I made this What's the Best, I had it. But that thing was just sitting on like a dark corner of my shelf, so I completely forgot that thing existed somehow, despite the fact that I love it to death, and it's super fucking cool. And I wound up only including like Shatter, Dropkick, and a few others on that list, and it's like, oh man, I was dumb as fuck. That was a bad call on my part, because honestly, Shatter, as much as I gave it big ups in that, it's C tier. Honestly, I still display the Dropkick. I do not display that version of Shatter, sadly, even though I think Shatter's a way better, way more interesting character. It's just the transformation isn't good enough that I want to do it like consistently. The alt mode isn't good enough that I think it looks like it's worthy of display, and the robot mode has its problems. So it was just like, I'll just put this in a drawer and forget about it, because it's not cool enough for me. Then we've got sadly our first D tier figure, and that is the McDonald's Beetle figure from like the early 90s, the Beast Wars, because let's face it, it's got like no articulation. It's got legs and knees, and then the arms kind of like go out to the side, and that's about it. And aside from just having like an incredibly enjoyable transformation for what it is, which is basically just pull out legs, flip down bug head to create torso, it's real simple. It's a very satisfying little guy. I love it to death, and I will never get rid of it. But I can't pretend that it's on anywhere near the same level as even anything in like CT. Like it would be an insult to say that this is anywhere near as good as the Shatter. Then we have RC from the What's the Best RC, and this is specifically the Generations Thrilling 31. Not because she won that, because actually the What's the Best RC had no winners. It had the Nicey, the Magic Square, Chibi RC, and then the Thrilling 30 RC. And I came to the conclusion that all three of those were going for something so different and were all striking the balance so evenly that they really couldn't be compared. So she's just in here as like a totem for all three, because all three are essentially equal. And I would agree with myself, whichever grade that this gets, I think that all three of those can get that grade. And I'm gonna say that she goes into B tier. The Nicey poses well enough to get in there while having a fucking terrible transformation. The T30 RC transforms well enough, has good enough posing, and good enough robot mode and alt mode to get in there. And then the Peach Girl is just so goddamn cute. She's just fucking cute. And there will be, if I have anything to say about it, there will be a What's the Cutest one day. Just wait on that. All right, then we have the What's the Best Wrecker. And this was kind of like the start of like a semi-bad trend for me, though I still think that this one was an interesting use of What's the Best. But we'll get into that a little later, not too much longer. But yeah, no, this is a really cool figure. It's got a really good transformation. It's got two great alt modes. It's not like instantly apparent that it is a triple changer, because both alt modes are so successful. The robot mode is pretty cool. I'll say that the head is a little bit boring, and the colors are not like the most interesting in the world, but I think they're good enough. I'll say the one thing that really holds this guy back is just a lack of posability. He's got T30 posability, and that's a line from over a decade ago. And you know what? I mean, like, it being so old, it's definitely going to handicap him, but he's still going to go into A. It's a really good transformation and a really cool pair of alt modes. I really love that they managed to incorporate the entire thing without parts forming to make both modes. It's a blast of a figure. If you don't have one, you owe it to yourself. Though at the time of making this video, they did just like either leak or announce the new Legacy Sandstorm, which, I mean, goddamn, my curse is very powerful. But yeah, that's where he's going. Then we've got the Masterpiece Black Arachnia from the What's the Best Black Arachnia, and she kind of almost doesn't deserve to be on this list. The sad thing about the Black Arachnias are that really kind of none of the ones that we've had are any good. Girl just keeps getting screwed here. The posing and the look of the Masterpiece is very good. They're both very good in robot mode. Both those factors are very good in robot mode, but the transformation sucks so badly. It's terrible, and it feels like you're going to break it, and you're just never confident with anything that you're doing, and then the alt mode is just garbage. There's like 20% of that alt mode that looks right, and then the rest of it is this horrible mess of like panels and a giant bloated bug thorax that looks nothing like her. Like, if they could have maybe like lengthened that bit out so it was longer than it is tall, but instead it's very tall and not very long, so she just looks awful in that alt mode. And I'm gonna go and I'm gonna put the second girl, and I think the only other girl on this list, also in C tier. It's really unfortunate that Black Arachnia doesn't have a better figure, and considering the fact that the trans arts of her is like an F tier figure, God, I don't know that we're ever gonna get a good one, tragically. Then we have the What's the Best Minicon from Siege, which the guys who won that were front of truck and back of truck with cannon. And this is just the front of truck. He just represents both of them, because without the other one, front of truck kind of just isn't complete. But it's a relatively fun little transformation. It's a fun, cool little guy. But I will not be giving him anything better than a C, because let's face it, he's not even that much better than Beetle. It's cool. It's definitely better. It's not that much better, but it's enough better to not wind up in D tier. Then next in line, we have the Toy World Animation Colors Wheeljack that just doesn't look like it's part of our reality. Like, that thing looks like a fake CGI model, and it's super cool. Like, it doesn't look that cool in real life. It looks very cool in real life, but when he's put on the blue backdrop where it kind of divorces him from real objects, he suddenly just stops looking like something that exists in our universe, and it's a really cool effect. Unfortunately, while I do agree that is the best Wheeljack, I think all those Wheeljacks were kind of sitting around in A. Each one of them kind of had like a critical error. The Masterpiece has really mediocre posing. The Earthrise just isn't very good, and it's breakable. But this guy, he looks really pretty good, but his head is kind of small. He's a tiny figure. You can't get this. Like, the sad thing is you can't get this. A lot of people are always like, oh, where'd you get that? How do you get that? The truth of the matter is that was a pack-in for buying the special edition of the Toy World Devastator. So if y'all want to spend about like $1,000 to get this guy who's, worth like $40 but has a really cool paint job, then that's not even available to you now, because the $1,000 version is gone. It is sold out. So this is what this is. That's the best you get. There is no chance of getting the Whiskey Jack in these colors anymore. So I'm going to put him in A tier. Then you've got the 86 Grimlock, and the 86 Grimlock I absolutely want to put in best tier, but at the same time, like, should I? Because we already know that the Giga Power Grimlock beats it. So why should this guy, who we know will lose, go into best tier, even though I think he totally is best tier? He's super cool. He's so good. It's such a good update to the Masterpiece, because the original Masterpiece kind of sucks. Well, no, it doesn't kind of suck. It sucks very, very hard. The original Masterpiece is one of the worst Masterpieces. It feels more like an actual Chug figure that had a bit more budget that was just then blown up, and which results in the plastic being very thin. It results in kind of like really bad posability for the time. It doesn't look all that like great. Like, the head is super good. The head is my preferred Grimlock of all time, but like everything about that thing was just kind of like a failure. Whereas this guy right here took all of that and he made it work. He took the weak transformation and he made it work. He took the thin plastic and he made it thicker. He made it feel nicer quality. He gave him more posability. He holds together better. He has just everything about it is better, with the exception of the head. And if you're like me, then you found that upgrade head on eBay and then you swapped out the head. Even though I think this is a pretty decent head. And you know what? Even though we know he's going to lose, I'm going to put him in best tier. I absolutely love this fucking figure. Then you've got the Iron Factory Ultra Magnus. I think he was called like the City Commander. I don't remember quite so well. But the Iron Factory Ultra Magnus is absolutely just one of the coolest goddamn guys. He poses immensely. Like, for such a small figure, they've packed Masterpiece posing into him. And when I say a small figure, I mean like he's technically Legend scale, but the character was gigantic, so he's more Voyager scale, or more like a Big Deluxe, I suppose. Somewhere between Voyager and Big Deluxe. The transformation is decent. It's not the best thing ever, but it's it's a pretty standard Ultra Magnus one, with having the cab turn into the chest. There's just like a few clearance issues that are frustrating. That would probably be better at a larger scale. That way you could get like more finger on them. But it's got a good alt mode. It's got great posability. It's got a good robot mode. It's great. I think that this absolutely deserves to be in best tier. Then we've got one of the most controversial bests I've ever given the title to, and that would be the Kingdom Dinosaur Megatron. That's because in that same wave, Kingdom Cyclonus was in it, and everyone just disagrees with me super hard that Kingdom Cyclonus should have lost to this. But look, this has a better head than Kingdom Cyclonus. They look about equal to the character. I'll say that this has definitely more kibble, and that probably has, well, no, that definitely has the Kingdom Cyclonus definitely has a better transformation. But this poses better than the Kingdom Cyclonus. It poses better in both modes than the Kingdom Cyclonus, though technically the Kingdom Cyclonus doesn't have a posable mode, posable alt mode, rather. But like this it's so high quality, it's so well painted, it's handled so well, it poses so well. The transformation isn't bad, which is really incredible for a Beast Wars Megatron, because those guys tend to get really hampered in posability department. But it's really that alt mode. That alt mode puts it up over the top, because while Cyclonus' alt mode is super cool and super iconic, a posable, like one of the most posable T-Rex toys of all time, is even cooler. So I will say that this absolutely deserves its place over that. But this actually brings me to the point where I was talking about earlier, where I really, really do not like doing the what's the bests on like waves of toys. I know that everyone else really loves them. People ask me to do these all the time, and I kind of really hate it. I don't want to sound super negative, and I love that you guys care about these, but it's just, what's the best was designed to pick the best like individual version of a character. That's the point. That's what I want. I want it to find, oh, this is the best Megatron from these sets of Megatrons. Oh, this is the best Skyfire. This is the best Bumblebee. This is the best, just on and on and on. And it I find that it really falls on its face when it's like, oh, hey, what's the best of these guys? Completely random selection of dudes because this is what came out in the toy line. I feel like there should almost be like a separate show that I come up with to determine like, what's the best thing from just this wave of toys. Because when it's, this guy versus that guy versus that guy versus that guy, and none of them are even similar, it's just like, oh, half of the criteria just don't even mean anything anymore. I might as well just be going like, what has the best transformation, what has the coolest look, and what's the most fun. So yeah, I don't care for doing these like this, using this format. But anyways, the result, I think, is that this guy is in A tier. It's a very good figure. I think that the Cyclonus is also very good, but the Cyclonus has a terrible face and really could stand to have more posing. I don't think they quite broach into the best tier because this is breakable and those problems I listed with Cyclonus. Then you've got the core class Kingdom Megatron, who, let's be real here, like I said, it's all the fun of a Voyager packed down into a core class figure, but that means that, it's like a great Voyager should have won that What's the Best. A great Deluxe figure should have won that What's the Best. Instead, that was a pretty weak showing from the other guys that this guy could top them all, even if it is great for what it is, but I'm gonna say that this is a B tier figure. Then you've got the original Siege Skyflyer, and I'm running into the same dilemma as I did with the 86 Grimlock, in that we know that there's a figure that showed up later that beat him in a sequel to that What's the Best, but I still want to put this in best tier because he's just so good. He's such like you could go with this guy if you want a Legends one, and you should go with this guy if you want a Legends one. He beats the other Legends one handedly. He beats all the other Legends ones because there's several other Legends ones, but this guy, if you want a large one, is a very solid choice. I think like if you need a Masterpiece scale one, you should obviously go with the Masterpiece one and not the fucking garbage ass Fans Toys one. But this one, it hits like kind of a best of all worlds kind of thing, where it's cooler than the design is while still looking like the design is supposed to be. It's got a great transformation that's not overcomplicated. It's just a great chug Skyfire. Did I say Jetfire? Have I been saying Jetfire? I should fucking flog myself if I've been saying Jetfire. But it's just a great Skyfire all around. And he has such a perfect alt mode. The alt mode is still, I think, probably the best one. Like, this guy's alt mode is great. It's going for a great alternative alt mode. But this guy, he has the Skyfire alt mode that is in my soul. And I'm going to give him S tier. Best tier. Then there's the Space Bumblebee. And Space Bumblebee is just, it's so good. It's so great. It's just such a good little guy. It's everything that I wanted. And I'll say that the space guys, so far, Wheeljack hasn't come out yet. So there's only one other space guy, and that would be the Jazz. And Jazz does not live up to the Bumblebee at all. Bumblebee's head here is fucking terrible. Jazz has absolutely the much better head. But this Bumblebee, like, outside of the awful head, which I did eventually end up prying off and replace with the Creatures Collide box set Bumblebee head, which looks way better now. He's kind of small for what they charge for him, but like I'm okay with it when the rest of the figure is this good. He transforms pretty solidly, even though parts like to pop off of him. He has amazing posability. I mean, this guy is one of the top tier posing chugs of all time. And then his alt mode is just, it's perfect, and it's something that we desperately needed. Should this go in S tier? That's my question. Should this go in S tier? Best tier? It does have its problems. It does have its huge kibble, which, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna say that it's an A tier figure. I wanted to say better than that, but the kibble, you might notice that no kibble. This guy's got a really visible amount of kibble, so unfortunately I'm gonna have to sit here and say no to him. Then you got the Kingdom Rodimus, the Commander class, and this guy I am going to say is B tier. He's a good B tier, but this is a $65 figure that they charged $80 for. His transformation isn't super advanced. His transformation is barely more advanced than the Voyager one, and he's small, and his face doesn't look great. He's got great posability, but he's a B tier figure. He's a good figure, but he's kind of indicative of those like later lines of Kingdom kind of being a bit on the weaker side. He should have had better competition, and he didn't. And he's a good figure. I don't regret buying it at all, though I would regret it. I would not regret it even less if it didn't cost as much. That's a whole lot of double negatives. Anyways, then there's the Masterpiece Soundwave, and it's S tier. It's going in S tier. It's still in S tier. There's still no figure that beats it. The Fans Toys / the Robot Paradise one just does not match up to it. The Robot Paradise one is very good, and I've learned since that the Robot Paradise one is actually the old designer for Fans Toys who broke off from the company and started his own toy company because he was sick and tired of how Fans Toys ran their business practices where they were overcharging for everything. So I do have more fondness for that now, but like it just doesn't compare. This guy has one of the all-time greatest transformations. He looks really cool. He is the spitting image of Soundwave if you do kind of the same thing that Siege Skyfire did, where you made him look a little bit cooler. His plastic might be a bit too dark, and obviously I will always tell you that he should have the red visor, but outside of that, it poses excellently. It's a fantastic poser. It beats the Robot Paradise in terms of posing. It beats the Robot Paradise in terms of transformation handedly. Just an absolute shit stomp of that figure on that front. And the alt mode looks better. Maybe the Robot Paradise's alt mode is a little more accurate, but like not remarkably so, and it looks worse for it. But then you got the Kingdom Blaster, and I'll say that the Kingdom Blaster, is it a better figure than the Rodimus? I don't know. Like, I want to put an A because it's not overcharging while still being really pretty good, but it doesn't pose better than this, and its transformation isn't more complex or more interesting, and the alt mode isn't really better. I think that would just be me being petty if I were to put it in A tier. So I think that B tier is fair for the Kingdom Blaster, and I just can't stress enough how much I don't think it's a good what's the best strategy to go through unrelated characters and rank them. But then we got Megatron. We're back to like the true what's the bests, and unfortunately, like, immediately after that, we're getting out of it again real quick. But the Megatron, this Megatron, it's so fucking good. It's the worst thing about it is that like that stomach door came unglued, which is a very easy fix, which I still have not done because it just plugs in just fine on its own. But the transformation on this is another one of those like top tier, like high watermark transformations where they made a Megatron transformation that's actually good. It doesn't look as much like a normal Megatron as would normally rank it well. I think I mentioned that in the what's the best on it anyways. This is definitely a very more stylized take. Is it Make Toys who like recently like ran off with other people's money? Because that would be really disappointing if it was, because they made absolutely what has to be one of the most fun Megatrons ever, and I'm going to put that in S tier or best tier. Then you got the Bulkhead. The Bulkhead is again a very good figure. I think it's a B tier figure. It's absolutely worth your money. I think it's a great update and rendition of the character. I just don't think that you can really argue that it's higher when it parts forms and the machine gun doesn't want to attach to it, and it has its like stylization issues that a lot of people are not going to care for. But it's a really good figure. It poses well. It has a lot of character. It's a good figure that you would be happy to own. Then you've got Ugly Face McUgly over here, G-Axis. And I very specifically chose his thumbnail to be a bit different than everyone else's. He poses excellently. He has a really fun transformation. His alt mode kind of sucks though. His alt mode is real bullshitty. If you have to fan mode it to make it look like anything, and even when you do, there's those underside like gaps in him. He's got his problems. He's another B tier figure. I wish I could put like him higher, but like the fact of the matter is that alt mode really does kind of drag him down, even if it is relatively kind of accurate. I mean, they did their best doing a thing that was always kind of wishy-washy in the comics. Then you've got Giga Power Grimlock. And Giga Power Grimlock, if the 86 Grimlock winds up here, the Giga Power Grimlock also has to wind up in S tier just because, you know, he's obviously defending his throne against the 86 Grimlock. And the Giga Power Grimlock, I'll say it's definitely, it might be the worst posing figure on this, yeah, looking at it, like, there's no doubt, even if all three of the other guys end up in best tier at this point, he will be the worst posing figure on the best tier. He has an ab crunch, and that's cool, but he doesn't have any, like, backwards butterflies. His elbows are unfortunately limited when they really didn't have to be. His knees are relatively limited. The ankle tilts on them are just wrong, but I've said it before, I'll say it again. There's not a single figure in my collection that is as beautiful as this thing. This thing is gorgeous. It's a work of art. The closest thing I have to another work of art like it is the samurai version of Grimlock by Iron Factory, but this just blows that out of the water. It's just like you look at this thing and your jaw drops, and it looks so much like him. It captures all of the spirit and all the force and power of this guy. He is the dude that people walk into my collection room and they see it, they look at it on the shelf, they're like, what is that thing? Despite the fact that, like, you've seen my collection, it is a pretty well laid out collection that there's a lot to catch your eye on, and that guy always draws the eye. So I will say that guy is absolutely S tier, best tier. I keep doing that. I keep going S tier and then having to correct myself to best tier. Maybe it was a stupid idea to name it best tier. Then you've got the Dragon Megatron, and I will say that this goes in A tier along with the Beast Wars Megatron. It has a goofy face. That's the problem with it, but it poses very well. It transforms pretty damn well. The alt mode is basically perfect. It looks great. They put a lot of effort into it. It is definitely a leader class figure. It lives up to the moniker. It is beautiful. It's gorgeous, and it is kind of everything you want from a Dragon Megatron. Maybe you could give it a bit more neck and give him an upgrade kit, which I did, and that really speaks highly of it because if you know my methodology on upgrade kits, you know that the figure has to earn its upgrade kit, and it earned a better head because it is that good. Then you've got Skyflyer and another guy defending his throne, so he is definitely going to be in this list. And you know what? The Magic Square Skyflyer he's just so fucking good. It's got a really fun transformation. It poses. It's the only figure on this list that gives the Optimus Prime for Magic Square. So yeah, the two Magic Squares are the two best posing figures on this list. It's a stupendous figure. It would be great bigger. I would love it bigger. I wanted it to be bigger so badly. But at the same time, it looks like Skyfire in a similar way to this one, where it's Skyfire, but slightly cooler without sabotaging what made Skyfire look like Skyfire, the big dork. It's got a great transformation. It's got a fantastic alt mode, which has it's got a slightly different but completely valid take on his alt mode nose cone, which is one of the most important things in the universe. God damn it. I don't know what more I can do to justify it. He is a great poser, a great transformer. He looks great. He captures the character. He is definitely going to be on the best of the best. And then you've got the Deathsaurus, which technically he wasn't in his own What's the Best, but his What's the Best rankings had to be updated, or the What's the Best rankings, the Which is the Best rankings had to be updated between the Deathsauruses. The HasLab Deathsaurus is excellent, but I'm only going to put it in A tier. It's an excellent A tier figure. It looks like the character captures the character, but the transformation is wanting, and the alt mode is also wanting. It comes with a ton of shit. It's excellent. Like I'm not like putting any shade on this thing. It's excellent. I absolutely think it's worth the $180 they charged for it if you bought it in America. I know a lot of people didn't buy it in America and were therefore screwed, but it lacks something to put it up over. It lacks amazing posability. It's got good posability, but it lacks amazing posability. It's got great looking robot mode, but it lacks an amazing looking robot mode. It's got a transformation that is okay, and then it's got an alt mode that is okay. It's not punching every single category in the face like it needs to be getting up to that S tier, best tier ranking. So that means that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 contestants. When all is said and done, we have 9 contestants for when I do my eventual best of the best. Unfortunately, that means I'm kind of stupid. Like, best of the best is kind of going to have the same problem as as these ones down here, where it was the best of a toy line, because it's Optimus Prime, Blastoff, Grimlock, Ultra Magnus, Skyfire, Soundwave, Megatron, Grimlock, and then Skyfire again. That's going to be the lineup currently. And then if I make any more what's the best between now and what's the best, then this will immediately become a little bit outdated. But we'll see. We will see. Anyways, thank you for watching. And that's not half of what I have to say, but it's enough of what I have to say. And I know, you know, what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So, if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.